Both Josh Giddey and Coby White have been listed in the top 30 point guard list that was created by HoopsHype. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, JDH asked, who are the coaches for the Chicago Bulls, the new assistant coaches, and how can they help the Chicago Bulls get to the place they're trying to be? We're going to answer that as well and dive into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. So I want to start off with HoopsHype's top 30 point guards going into the season's list. And Coby White and Josh Giddey were both listed on that list at 21 and 22 respectively. So that's a solid thing when you look at it, right? Like, don't get me wrong, both these point guards, as far as in Josh Giddey and Coby White, have their own things that they need to work on. We're going to get a little bit into that. But I want to look at the top 10 in this list and see how you guys feel about it. You guys can let me know, as always, down below how you feeling about this top 10 list. At number one, they had Luka Doncic listed as number one, the best point guard in the NBA heading into the season. Number two, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with the OKC Thunder. You guys know I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he definitely is kind of my favorite to win MVP coming into the season. Then you have at number three, Jalen Brunson. I agree with that one as well. At number four, Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton at number four. I don't know what you guys think about that. Steph Curry at number five. Tyrese Maxey at number six. Ja Morant coming in at number seven. At number eight, we do have Damian Lillard, even though I know there's people kind of disappointed by Dame's season last year. Number 9, De'Aaron Fox, who's going to be joined by DeMar DeRozan. And then Trae Young at number 10 in that list. But then if you get to the area of kind of where Coby White and Josh Giddey sit at, it's kind of the thing that I want to kind of focus on. Who's around Josh Giddey and Coby White? So Coby White comes in at number 21st on that list. We already know the season that Coby White had. Extending his game in just about every area, not just the points per game, but also the rebounds, the assists, the usage, the fact of just how big he really stood up last year. And then as well, do you know that Coby White is the 140th salary in the NBA? That's how low Coby White's at. There's 119 players making more than Coby White and what he's going to be making this season. But you know what? The thing that Coby White, as far as on this list, right? They talked about his quickness. They talk about his off dribble, how he scores off dribble. Those are things that are going to be really good for him playing next to Josh Giddey. And while there have been some people like JDH and the crazy ball fam guy who leaves crazy comments, I had to debunk him yesterday, trying to say that Steph Curry had a cadaver ligament in his ankle, and he didn't. He didn't even read the rest of the article. But the thing with it said, and while JDH, who we're going to get into a topic from JDH, and others have some legitimate concerns over, how Coby White and Josh Giddey are going to fit together. Hell, I had an episode on a couple days ago, right, on how they can fit as a backcourt. I still think that, Coby White has to answer that question. Him and Josh Giddey are going to have to try to figure out their balance together heading into the season as far as what the mix on ball, off ball is going to be for those guys. But, we'll see into that. Now, Josh Giddey was right below Coby White there at number 22. And with that, they talked about his playmaking, all the things that we know, right, as far as what Josh Giddey does well. And him being, 21 years old, it does give him a lot of credit. Now, they mentioned in this and how, like, with Josh Giddey's numbers in 2022-23, the 16.6 points point game, the almost 8 rebounds per game, and the 6 assists per game, 48% shooting from the field. They talked about how, that kind of compares to people like LeBron James and Magic Johnson and things like that and what they did in their age 20 seasons. So we'll see what happens with it, man. At the end of the day, Josh Giddey has a bunch of questions around what he's going to be able to do. But now coming to the Chicago Bulls, having the ball in his hand and doing that type of thing, we'll see. He still has tremendous upside, and I like where he's ranked at on this list. Below Coby and Josh Giddey's D'Angelo Russell at number 23, Emmanuel Quickley at number 24, and then if you look at the two players above Josh Giddey and Coby White, you have Fred VanVleet at number 20, which that a little bit ranked high for what VanVleet is. He was really big for Houston last season, so you can't deny that. And then also DeJounte Murray at number 19 so those two players above, the two players below Josh Giddey and Coby White. And honestly, I think those are fair rankings for those guys and where Josh Giddey and Coby White are right now. They're going to have to show that they can, continue to extend and growing their game. And I think this is going to be a big season for both of them, right? Josh Giddey in the contract year, of course, coming in now to a new team where theoretically he's going to be given those point guard duties and truly allowed to do that. And Coby White, once again, his role is going to change, as it has almost every year of his NBA career, to where now he's going to be moving back to the off-ball guard. And he's still going to have some point guard, some ball handling duties. Of course, he's still going to have some things go through him, but he's on a very different makeup of the team as well. Zach LaVine's probably going to be starting at the 3 for the Chicago Bulls, and we're going to be maybe playing a new style, hopefully playing a new style. So those are going to be interesting things to watch for those two players. But I just wanted to kind of start this off mentioning that they, HoopsHype at least is ranking them as some of the top point guards in the league. And so, Kobe's going to be moving back. And, Kobe was never a true point guard, and that's perfectly fine, right? And I think the people like the Ball Fam guy and JDH who worry about, with Kobe's ascension, why have you taken the ball out of his hands? And I think that's to maximize on his skill set that he has, right? And make no mistake about it, right? And Kobe has already played with another ball dominant player. And that's where some of the doubt and criticisms kind of miss me in some cases. I understand why they exist, but I don't agree with them all. Is because let's not act like Coby White was being a Chris Paul type point guard who is his mentor, where he was just bringing the ball up and down the court every single time, and he was the one running the plays. No, a lot of that also went to DeMar DeRozan, and Kobe was still able to have big scoring explosions, and to really impact the game as well. And I think when you look at Josh Giddey and Coby White and their ability to rebound the ball, which is going to be a big aspect of this team playing faster. If either one of those guys get the rebound, they're going to be able to start the break, and that's going to be an exciting thing. And as much as Josh Giddey's shooting is a question, his ability to slash to the rim himself and get creative with those floaters and layups, if he does not have the ball in his hand on a fast break, could be something fun to watch. I'm not saying for sure, but it could be something fun to watch. And I, for one, am excited to see how it's going to round out for this team and how these two players that are both still young, both still trying to really cement what they are in the NBA, how they can figure out a way to do it together. And very well, let's be clear, is while that I see the path that it could work, it very well could not work either. And that's going to be something to see how the Bulls do, how they react to that. If at the start of the season, or maybe let's say we go through a half or to 2/3 of the season, and you just see that Coby White and Josh Giddey aren't necessarily working, what do you do at that point? And that'll be the interesting thing to watch if this thing does not work, on how the Bulls react to it, who they bet on at that point. Do they bet on, is it easier to find somebody who can play next to Josh Giddey? Is it easier to find somebody who can play next to Coby White? What do you do if it does not work out? And that's something that I haven't talked a lot about, but at some point we need to think about. Now, you guys know, typically in the offseason, I go into every offseason optimistic, right? That's just my personal view. I like to see, I can see how things could work together. But if we get into another situation where you've now created a core that doesn't quite fit together in the right ways, then how does this front office counteract that? And that would be the thing that to look out for going forward, to see if this front office has learned from those mistakes going forward. So we'll see what happens there. But moving off of that topic into the next one. So JDH left a comment yesterday in regards to, comments from Mark Eversley. The Mark Eversley saying they've been given a longer runway. One thing I didn't agree with JDH, he tried to say that meant continuity. You can't change as much as your team as you have and still say that it's continuity. Now, the goal of every team is to have continuity. I think that's the thing, right? Is that the goal of every NBA team in front office is to find a core that you can then have continuity with. So the thought process of them wanting continuity with their core is not off. The problem is they double down on continuity at times where changes were clearly needed. I think that goes back to how I finished off the last segment on watching to see how this front office reacts if some of these pieces don't quite fit together. But with that said, he also asked mainly about who are the coaches and how are the coaches going to help this team. And I think that was a really great question. And while I've talked about this in kind of different areas, I want to bring it together. Like, who are Wes Unseld Jr. and Dan Craig? Who are these guys that the Bulls brought in to be the lead assistants behind Billy Donovan? And what are their voices going to be, right? That's a great question when it comes down to it. And for Wes Unseld Jr., he's somebody who we've seen the results, whether you've realized them or not. Now, when he came over to the Nets, his special assignment was to manage the defense. Basically, he was tasked to do what Tom Thibodeau did for that Boston Celtics championship team under Doc Rivers, is that manage the defense. When Wes Unseld Jr. came in 2007 to the Nuggets, they were ranked 28th in defense. In the 2017 and 18 season and on, they went to number 6 in defense. As a matter of fact, they were number 6 in defense again last year. So he was successful in creating, getting the Denver Nuggets between the time he was there in 17 until the 2021 season when he left. They were ranked a top 6 defensive team, and he was the guy who was charged to do that. He was also over player development, and he's been credited with a big part in the development of Nikola Jokic, who was a second-round pick who the Denver Nuggets picked, and they wanted to develop, but they didn't quite know he was going to turn into MVP. But he's been given a large part of the credit for Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and Michael Porter Jr., all players who came in kind of with their own things. Jamal Murray, especially with the injuries that he dealt in and out with, right? And now being one of the better point guards in the NBA, and the injury concerns really kind of being behind him. And then Michael Porter Jr., who came in with the back concerns, of course, which is why he fell in the draft, but then ended up turning into a solid piece for a team that eventually won the championship. Now, Michael Porter Jr. had some issues last year in the playoffs, so let's not overlook that. But then he went on to become the coach of the Washington Wizards. And in that, right, that was a team that when he came in, still had Kristaps Porzingis, still had Bradley Beal, and that was a team that was still trying to compete. But from the time he took over the team to the time that he left, with Kyle Kuzma being the only one there and then bringing in Jordan Poole, I'm not going to completely blame Wes Unseld just on the fall of the Washington Wizards, but you can't overlook that either. When you're a head coach in the NBA and you have a total of 77 wins and 130 losses, he has a win percentage of 37%. Now, they also finished 3 straight years of finishing 12th in the Eastern Conference under Wes Unseld Jr., even though he didn't finish the 2023-24 season. And Wes Unseld Jr., as I said, is a coach who really is best as an assistant coach, and I think he understands that. I'm not going to hold the Washington Wizards. Everybody's not meant to be a head coach. I'm glad he had his time and his opportunity to try to be so, but we've seen him have much more success as an assistant coach, and so that is his resume. Player development is his resume, and I think we saw, now that looking back at how the Bulls maneuvered and moved, is that we're seeing a clear indication that the Chicago Bulls are prioritizing player development now. And so we'll see. I'm not saying that he's necessarily going to be successful here, but that is something that he's been in charge of, is player development. And then when you flip that and look at Dan Craig, the other coach that we brought into this as well, he spent 4 years in college basketball, and then he moved over to being an assistant coach for Bloomsburg. Not that that matters. He joined the Miami Heat as an intern in their video department in 2003 and 2004 and worked himself all the way up to being head of video coordination and player development in the 2011 season. So between 2011-12 to 2015, he had various coaching positions, but his main one was director of player development. And so in that time, he's been credited with developing Bam Adebayo. He's been credited with helping develop Tyler Hero and other players like that. And when you look at the Miami Heat being an organization that has always kind of built within, right? And really, when you look at the picks and the players that they've developed and how they build in a mentality of you got to learn how to be a Miami Heat player, Dan Craig was a big part of instilling that into the Miami Heat culture. I'm not giving him full credit for the culture. It's easy when you have a head coach like Eric Spoelstra and a guy running your team like Pat Riley, for sure, right? In 2015, he was appointed as the head coach of their G League team in Sioux Falls, and in that, he coached the team really well. He ended up winning a Coach of the Year award as well before moving back over to the Miami Heat to be back in their assistant coaching staff, being back on player development. So Dan Craig has had some success head coaching in the G League, but again, it's G League, still basically assistant coaching. So we're going to take that for what you will, but I just wanted to mark that out because it is part of his resume. Basically, what this means is that Dan Craig is pretty damn good at developing players. And the Bulls are hoping that that is going to be the key here. Now, it's on Billy Donovan as well on who is Billy going to be, right? Is he going to allow these coaches' voices to step in when they need to? Is he going to give them the leeway as the head coach for them to be the best assistants that they can be and thrive in those roles? Because listen, Billy, you've been here. And when you look at the players that have been developed by these two assistant coaches, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Bam Adebayo, you can see how those could relate to Coby White, a little bit to Josh Giddey, Adama Sanogo, Miles Busilis, right? We want those guys, the next crop of guys for the Chicago Bulls to be guys that we develop. Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry, right? And nobody's saying that you have to develop them to the heights of those players are, because who knows if their ceilings are that high. But you want to develop those guys into what you know that they're going to be able to contribute for your basketball team. So when you ask JDH for your question, which was a great one, what are these guys bringing to the Chicago Bulls and how can they help us? Development and understanding and being on organizations that have won titles and what went into that work. Those are things that they can bring to this team, and let's hope that they actually do. All right, it's Sunday. That means it is mailbag day around here. Let's go ahead and get into the mailbag. This first one that we have today, this one is from Reginald.
Hey, this is Reginald from Columbus, Georgia. This is coming a little late, but I agree with your take on not tanking, unlike some of Bulls Nation. You could just look at the Sixers and Detroit, and that should tell you all you need to know about how great tanking is. When we talk about filling in the process, like where they, those guys they drafted now, outside of Embiid, pretty much everybody's gone. Not only Embiid, not only guys like Ben Simmons, but the coach and the GM too. And when you look at Detroit, how can you not look at that and say that's a hot mess? And if Cade Cunningham is still there in like 2 years, even though he signed a contract extension, I'd be surprised. But it's better to try to build with the guys you got, try to see what they can do for right now. Because we still haven't seen the full potential of a Coby White or Ion Silva or a Patrick Williams or Jalen Smith or Josh Giddey. Montrez, he just got help. These are guys that if you want to build a playoff team at least, you need them or guys of that caliber. But most of those guys cost, what now, 18, 19 million for a two-way player like Io, a 20-point a night guy like Kobe. That's what, over 30. You got these guys young and healthy. So why not see what they can do before saying, you know what, we don't have a superstar, let's just blow it up. Do they need one? Yes. But what superstar would want to go to a team that they know that they'll never be able to win with? That's the problem the Bulls have had for years. We've been talking about this for the last 25 years. And outside of Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler, we really, those are all guys we drafted. Not somebody we signed. But, that's just my opinion in matter. Let the guys develop, try to draft somebody, and if drafting somebody doesn't work, try to make a trade. What's your opinion? Thanks.
No tank. Listen, the Bulls aren't tanking. It is what it is. I know some Bulls fans think, or they try to look at it and say, oh, no, we're doing a version of tanking because no, we're not tanking. The Bulls are trying to go out there and compete, and they're going to try to fight and win games. They may just not be successful in doing that. We'll see. You guys know. I think between 30 and 35 wins for the Chicago Bulls team. I think this is a season to more so look at how the mentality and things change and how players grow in their role. But this is a team that as well last year had to win over 20 clutch games. Keep in mind, we won 39 games. Over half our games were won in clutch moments. And so because of that, I do think with a team that doesn't have a clutch player like DeMar DeRozan, we have a higher probability to kind of take steps back. But I do think this is going to be a fun team to watch these young players develop. And that's what the key in this is, letting these young guys develop so you can really see what you have in them. Give them a full season of evaluation. And then you're going to have to make, I wouldn't be surprised if next offseason, we actually see a fairly busy offseason for the Bulls between maybe them trying to maneuver back into the draft, maybe them trying to get off some of these guys that they just don't see the future with, some of the veterans, Nikola Vucevic, Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball. What happens with those guys? So I think we could see another active offseason next year, but I think this season is really going to be on that player development and to see if we end up winning and getting into the play-in because of the young guys stepping up, so be it. If we end up in the lottery because the young guys have stepped up, but maybe they don't quite know how to win yet, those are things as well to take away from it. But great voicemail there, Reginald. Thank you for calling in. Let's get into this next one. This one's from Brian Washington.
Hey, what's up, Haize? Good morning, man. I think about the most improved player award or whatever award that's coming this year between the Bulls young guys. I think Giddey has a good chance, and Coby White can step it up. He missed out on this season, like you said, and I think he should have gotten it. I think Io. I think he will be. I think he can get an award this year based on his defense his offense, hopefully it gets even better. And I think, the way DeMar pulled him up under his wing, he learned a lot from DeMar. That's why I respect DeMar for putting that winning attitude in these players, and they respect him. You know what I'm saying? They look up to him, and I think that's going to carry over. Hopefully it really do. But I think Io, that is being his hometown, positions are open, players are gone, he's going to get more minutes. I think he's really going to step his game up. And it probably not be scoring wise, probably be just even better defense. He's going to be our Caruso. You know what I'm saying? Our best defensive player right now on this team. He is really, to me. Yeah, I think he's going to step up and get an award. I think he has a lot on his plate, and his energy, his attitude wise, I think that's his main focus, is to prove to DeMar that he learned a lot from him, man. And I think he got a lot to prove from his hometown city. I think he's really gonna put in that work and, be a better defensive player and a better all around player anyway. So I think Io gonna get it. I think he can do that. And I hope either one of them, really. But I think Io.
The case for Io to make most improved player, I think, is a big one. And I think that is one that could happen. Now, I don't know off the top of my head. I didn't go and look how many players coming off the bench win most improved player of the year. That'll be something interesting to watch. I think those players more so maybe go into sixth man of the year conversation. Maybe that's just a hurdle in the mind of kind of voters in that case. But it will be interesting to watch to see if Io, because he has the skill set. When you look at Io's numbers as a starter, those are numbers that could get you in that conversation. Now, if he can take it a little bit further than that, because he's stepping into this role of being this sixth man for the Bulls, the first guard off the bench, somebody who's going to draw a lot of good defensive assignments while having kind of the job there of being kind of the point guard for that bench unit when they're in there. And this isn't hockey. You're not subbing all bench players in there for all your starters, but he is going to have some of those ball handling duties when he's out there as well. How he can get creative and grow that part of his game. That's also going to be fun to watch. I think that Io DeSumo can be in that conversation. I'm not ready to say he will be per se, but I do think he can get in that conversation. And it's not bad to bet on Io DeSumo, who's already shown, hey, I'm trying to increase my game every single year. And we'll see what Io can bring. I have a lot of faith that Io is going to have a really good season for the Chicago Bulls this year. Now, is that going to end in a most improved player or a sixth man of the year award? I mean, I would love for it to, but we'll see. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Dre.
Yo, what up, Haize? This is Dre, man. So I got a few things that I want to kind of, attack. One of the things, I ain't gonna lie, I think, like, your intro, I was wondering, like, hey, would you consider, change your intro? Because I think, like, when you don't got DeMar no more, I ain't see AC up in there. But, who else? If we trade Zach, would you take Zach out? Like, is it time for a new intro? Like, when everybody gone? That's one. And for two, hey, so, I heard about the anonymous source and all that, whatever. So, I kind of agree with you with the, it's a combination of both. But one thing, though, that I feel like I fought Zach for, one, though, Zach don't seem like a leader to me. Like, he's a scorer. I feel like nobody should question that. Like, Zach can get a bucket. He's a scorer, but I feel like, as far as being a leader, like, don't get me wrong, like, the teams that, like, he had before DeMarno came, they was pretty shit. So, I mean, I don't see what was the expectation or the ceiling. Like, what the fuck can he do with that? But I feel like, at that point, I'm not comparing the players, but I don't know, I'm just saying, like, he was our best player on the team. Well, still is the best player on the team. Like, I don't know. I expected him to shine. Like, like the time, when Damian Lillard, he was over there in Portland when he had a shitty team, he did him. Not saying that Zach didn't, but I don't know. I kind of expected more from it. And then I just feel like now that we did, bring a competitive team to him, now he I don't know, man. I feel like it's a combination of both. Between that, because he didn't really have the right pieces around him, and then I don't know, that is what it is. And then another thing that I want to go over was that how do you feel about that AC trade shit? Like do you think we won that trade? I mean I know I did hear your opinion on it, but I don't know. I mean, we did get a young player back. It's like, people really making a big deal just because we didn't get picked. So I don't know. So, shit, I'm just checking in, man. Keep doing you, man. I fuck with it. I'm out.
The intro's been changed, bro. Like, the intro's been changed for almost a week now. So yeah, there's no more DeMar DeRozan in that intro. But keep in mind too, the intro now, what we have, whereas the intro before was just players currently on the team, the intro now has MJ. It has some Scottie Pippen in there. I want to work in some Joakim Noah, some Jimmy Butler. So they're still going to see some older Bulls players in there. Like that Zach LaVine dunk that's in there, it's probably going to stay in there even if Zach LaVine is traded. Because now it's kind of more of a history thing. Derrick Rose is in there, right? So, we'll see what comes about with that one. But as far as Zach LaVine being a leader, I agree with you. Like, he can be one of your best scorers on your team, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's the leader. And I think that a leader, the way that I look at it, a leader elevates the players around him. And to say this, and I'll say this, yes, Zach LaVine has not had the greatest teammates around him most of his career here in Chicago. I'm not taking that away from him. But when you talk about a great leader and a number one, you still want them to elevate those guys up a little. And I don't think Zach LaVine has ever really elevated somebody. And that's not a knock on who he can be. Not everybody in the NBA is meant to be a leader, even if you are the team's best scorer, right? And so Zach LaVine was thrust into that role because the team couldn't find another one when they did. And with DeMar, we got injuries and things up and down there. But I think ultimately, like, leaders, best players, they elevate people around them. Now, Zach LaVine can still be one of the best players on the team, even a championship team, I would think. But you need somebody better than Zach LaVine so he can kind of fall more into that role. And I do think Zach LaVine does need leadership. Hopefully he realized that. And like I said, that's not a knock on Zach. That's just on the objective view that I have of looking at this team, right? Now, as far as the Caruso thing, I think that we could win the Caruso trade. I'll say this. If he doesn't end up staying with the OKC Thunder, then I would say that we and Josh Giddey ends up staying here and having a nice long Bulls career, that long term we won that. Now, if the OKC Thunder win a title next year and Alex Caruso is a big part of that, even if he does end up leaving, it's going to be hard to say that they didn't win that trade, right? So we could end up winners of that trade. I'm just not ready to say that we are quite yet, but I do think we could end up the winners of that trade for sure. All right, let's get into this last voicemail. This one's from Soul.
What's up, Haize? This your boy Soul calling from Toledo, Ohio. First off, I'd like to, thank you and everybody over there working, man. Y'all has made this off season beautiful, great. Every day I get off of work, I watch you guys on my long drive home. But one other thing I want to say, when I think about this Lonzo Ball thing, honestly and truthfully, it makes me think about like a different player in a different situation, but kind of like same type of thing, like Sean Livingston. He stood back and got injured. They said he took like 20 months to start working or whatever the case may have been, but he said out his own mouth it actually took him like 7 years to really get his stuff back. And you see, when he came back and he was good, he was on the Golden State Warriors, you feel me? And played as a crucial part of their championship in the beginning part. So when I think about Lonzo, I hope he's good enough, honestly, truthfully, so we could go ahead and trade him, use him as bait to probably go with Zach LaVine or something. Or maybe Vooch, who knows? But, that's just my thoughts about it. That's all. Like I said, shout out to you, Cognac Boys, Steve-O, everybody over there, man. You guys are the best. Peace. Have a good day. Be ready, y'all.
Great insight. Lonzo's going to take a while to bounce back. And I think when you see some people like the Ball fam guy who leaves comments here and some other people, like, they have this hope of, oh, Lonzo's healthy. That means he's going to be right back to Lonzo Ball. No, it takes time. It really does take time. And he has a dead person's knee, and his two major parts of his knee are from a dead person, a cadaver. And so, let's wait and see. Like, even if he's clear to be fully healthy, anybody who's holding that expectations he's going to come right back in and be the Lonzo Ball he was when he went down, you got to temper those expectations. It's probably not going to be that. He may not even be given the leeway to be that right away, right? Because they're going to want to see how he adapts and how his body handles the rigors of being back to NBA basketball. So you can only simulate the NBA game so much, right? 5-on-5 workouts with your doctors and things like that, it only gets you so far. You got to get in the game. So we'll see what comes about for Lonzo. I hope that Lonzo can have a comeback story, whether it is like Sean Livingston's or is it he carves his own path. I hope that he can get back, because Lonzo Ball, listen, taking what you love being taken away from you sucks. And so let's hope that Zoe can get it back, man. Let's hope that he can get it back. But that's my time for today, guys, man. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.